My humble respect to Guru Mahan, Guru Piran Sangran, Guru Piranyo, fellow Jnanis. I'm going to continue Mahan's philosophy and teachings. More importantly, I covered the philosophy, I covered Mahan's meditation method, and I also covered the benefits of Mahan's meditation method. And now I'm covering how one puts this philosophy, the mindset, and the practice of meditation and the benefits one derive from this meditation to our daily activities in our daily lives, particularly in the different stages of our lives. We go through an evolution, from infant to youth to, as a student and then as a professional and so on. So here I want to describe this journey, this spiritual journey, so that you would know how this great Mahan's teachings, and particularly the meditational practice, the Kundalini meditation practice, and the philosophy helps you to be connected to something far greater than the biology, our biology, and how by the mind, anchoring on this powerful force that nature has inbuilt in us, when the mind is absorbed in it, the mind becomes powerful, the mind becomes productive, the mind becomes universal, and the mind becomes illuminated, enlightened in every stages of our lives. So this great Mahan's teachings is, I've been doing for so many years, and it's amazing how this meditation technique is so transformative. I spoke about the universal adapter. For me, Mahan's meditational method helps me to connect to the power wherever I am in, whichever country, whichever stations of life, whichever moments, circumstances, situations, and whatever the stages of my biological body is. And as I like to use this thing called universal adapter, all of us carry it, it's a device that helps us to power our equipments and our instruments to this universal current. Same way the body, it helps us to connect to this universal current in different aspects of our lives, wherever we are. So I spoke about how, as a student in the previous, I spoke about student, and I'll touch on the professional life. And this is so important because I hear many of them say, well, I want to take a professional life, so spirituality, maybe when I retire, I will do it. So they go through their professional life, at times ups and downs, and they don't know how to manage and don't know how to divinize that professional life and run into major challenges. Some do very well, but not at the full potential. And then you have the other group, which essentially says, well, I don't want to take on a professional life. I want to take a more reclusive life, a monk-like life, and give up everything and try to attain the moksha. So you have the two extremes, and Mahan says that very clearly, that you can live a normal life, a normal life, as what we say, that we take on a professional life after getting all our education and training. And this professional life is very important because we want to ensure that we have adequate resources to sustain ourselves and our families, and when we stop working, that we are not a burden on our children or the government or anyone else. So we have adequate resources to look after ourselves until our life comes to an end, or until some of us save money for our families, until they can stand on their own and be self-sufficient, or we, save enough, resources to not just only help ourselves and our family, but also help other people. So in this material world, we need resources. Resources means we need, an income, we need an income to look after our daily expenses, our rental, our home, education, our children's education, and so on. So taking a reclusive life means giving up many things. And this great Mahan teaches us that you can live a normal life, but you can live in an extraordinary way. You can live in an enlightened way. So being a professional, but being an enlightened professional. And when you become an enlightened professional, your profession thrives. Your professionalism becomes fantastic and enlightened. So you contribute to your profession, right? You're able to create what I call greater return on values, not just for yourself, but also your place of work, your office colleagues, so that the company does very well, or your business does very well, so that you're able to support everybody. So this is what this great Mahan's teachings are. He didn't say that you have to give up your desires. He says that divinize your desires. So this is what this topic, this talk is about. So I said, we all have a journey that we are going through from the birth right up to our samadhi. So, and if we want to live a spectacular enlightened life, in a life which we say completeness, in Tamil we say paripurnam, a complete life, right? In every station we have fantastic contribution, what I call return on values, to not only for ourselves, our family, our friends, our neighborhood, and the greater society, right? And this is what divinizing this learning, this great Mahan taught me. So I want to today focus on professional life, right? Sometimes people ask me, Guru, you take this spiritual path, or sometimes my friends say, oh, you take the spiritual path, how can you balance between your professional life, your family life, and also spiritual life? Aren't you supposed to give up all the desires? I said, this is where you have a different understanding of what I do. Professional life means a life that we divinize our profession, divinize the role that we play in society in creating the 10 capitals of life, right? And by doing that, we become self-sufficient and self-sustaining for ourselves, our family, and the greater society. And this often happens, from the age of 20 to about 40 years of really intensification of our professional life. We really learn our jobs. We're putting a lot of time on building expertise so that we're able to create wealth. And wealth is very important. There's a beautiful concept called Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Dharma means that knowledge that sustains us. This is the spiritual knowledge. Artha means to be able to use that knowledge to create wealth. When we create wealth, Artha, Kama is we divinize all our desires. And we do that, we attain moksha. So this evolution is so important. And this is what I learned from this Mahan's teachings. So we acquire university education, we commence our professional life. And while we acquire this, we also balance this with our spiritual life. So we balance our spiritual life and our professional life. So I always say we professionalize our spiritual life and we spiritualize our professional life. And we nurture the 10 capitals of an enlightened person. We professionalize, so we nurture the 10 capitals in our professional life itself. As I said, the spiritual capital, the physical capital, keeping our body and our mind, our intellect healthy, the mental capital and the emotional capital, all those capitals I spoke about earlier, including our economic capital. And if we did that, as I said, our lives, we won't be stressed in our jobs. Yes, there are moments of challenges, but we know how to spiritualize and divinize this. As I said, when we divinize our professional life, you see that the spiritual and professional life are integrated into one. And Mahan says, Kadamedan Kadavul, you know, and he says that duty becomes divinity. So this is something I learned from this great Mahan. So it is actually about balancing between both our spiritual life and our professional life. And I say we conduct our professions with a soul, a profession, whether you're a doctor, teacher, engineer, you know, agriculturist, a farmer, you do it with a spiritual connection. You spiritualize it and you have a sustainable mindset that is continuously growing and developing. If we did that, we will thrive very well in our jobs. We'll do very well in our professions. And we learn new things, new insights. And that creates opportunity for us to develop, to get promotion, and to move on to higher level. And when we do that, we are also able to create value for not just our organization, but also for the people that work with us. One day, you may be under a particular boss. Over time, you will become the boss, right? So, and you look after your staff and nurture them to also reach that greater heights. And that's what professional life with the soul. You have uplifting values. You feel always positive, inspired. You always, okay, never mind, transform scars into stars. Transform, you know, uh, our challenges into opportunities for learning. So you have this uplifting values. you know you never say no, you always say yes. No means new opportunities, not a negative thing. No means new opportunities. And over time you acquire the leadership quality that is anchored on the universal values and the divine values, and nothing can shake you. You have that moral and the ethical values, the productive mindset to be able to push forward. And that's what bringing that spiritual and professional life together. We do things with the soul, with the divinity imprinted in us. And this is what I say that the core values of a successful professional, the GP Mahan's value, you have that gratitude for the people that taught you in your office or your teachers and the guru. And you have the gracefulness of the mind to acknowledge that and be graceful. You cultivate this quality of patience, persistence, perseverance. Yes, there are things I may not know now, but I'm going to push ahead, you know. And then you start mastering that knowledge. If you are working in occupational health and safety, you become the best. You find new innovations, transform policies. If you're a doctor, you find ways to cure the disease. You find ways to soothe people who are stressed, right? So you learn things as a guru. You also become very innovative in thinking through very carefully and how we treat people, how we educate, and all those things, right? So this, you become master of the knowledge and you become magnanimous to be able to share this knowledge liberally. When you do that, you acquire that awareness of the self, that infinite possibilities, right? Not just spiritually, but also in your professional life. Things that may be challenges in your office or the things that you're working on, you'll be able to find solutions. And you become confident, right? But yet, you have that humility. Humility means in Tamil panivu, that humility to willing, and I'll describe what that is in a little bit more detail in the context of a professional life. You have that agility of the mind and nobility in character and in thoughts and words and in our actions. So this is what bringing the two together and becoming one, the spiritual and the professional life. So I want to take you through what I learned by divinizing, the professional life. So actually, we become more grateful and thankful for the opportunities given, from our parents, who are our teachers, from our teachers in our schools, from the friends and the people that nurture us, our professors, right, our bosses. We're thankful for the opportunities given. I'm not sure how many of y'all have gone, most of y'all have gone primary school. Have you ever gone back to the primary school and asked, what can I do to help the primary school to be a better place so that as how I have benefited from that knowledge, I am hoping that I can make this school better so that others too can benefit. The same thing with your high school, the same thing with your university, going back and saying, what can I do? Right? That gratitude and the gracefulness, really makes a switch in our mind to be able to, be greater connected to things. The second quality of this Mahan in a professional sense is that the patience, persistence, and perseverance, working really hard, doing the hard stuff, doing the things that people don't see, right? People may say, wow, you are doing very well in your job and all, but they don't see the hard work, the long nights, the sleepless nights that you're putting really a lot of effort, hours to know something, and you're doing it diligently. This is true also in meditation. Or sometimes people say, oh, Guru, it's so easy for you. Huh. The amount of time that one has to put in to really discover this? Say, this knowledge comes so easily for you. No, you should, the amount of time that you have to devote. So somewhat like you are like a swan gliding on the lake. Everybody say, wow, the swan is gliding majestically. But nobody sees that the swan is paddling, you know, really, really hard to be able to glide beautifully. The same thing we see that the birds flying, beautifully, the eagle, or the swan flying beautifully, right? Wow, look at how majestic they fly. But they don't realize that the amount of effort that the birds and the swan and the eagles put in to keep that flight that helps them soar, right? So this is something that I also learned, that when you put in the effort, when everybody else is sleeping, everybody else is going to movies, everybody else is doing other things, you have buckled down and really sitting down and doing is what Mahan says, utru utru noka noka, that intensity of reading a particular book or reading a particular knowledge or reading a particular thing with that intensity, right? And that's what, you see that the knowledge becomes more clearer. And that's what leads to that mastery. That utru utru noka noka is what gives that mastery, right? Even meditation also, the intensity is very important until for you to touch the subtleties. The mind that is gross starts melting away, becoming more and more porous and more subtle until it touches that subtle force called the big I or Atma or the soul. So subtle, right? It requires a refined mind. And that's what the mastery is, this Mahan showed. How to master the mind that sometimes are very noisy or like a monkey jumping from one place to another. So that mastery gives us the refinement and we become so magnanimous. You are just overflowed by this amazing force that you become so generous in liberally giving this knowledge. So you acquire that specialized knowledge and skills, but you also have that knowledge expanding within your own universe, that you're able to kind of, it's overflowing and you're able to provide that illumination to yourself and the people around you. This is what the professional, so when you master something, you become really good in it. And when you become really good in it, nature itself will say, okay, now you can be a teacher to teach other people how to do this. Whether it's a heart surgeon or a brain surgeon or an astrophysicist or a good researcher or a Mahan or a guru, the same evolution takes place, right? And when one does that, you then, as a professional, become really confident. You know the knowledge that you have can help solve problems. No matter how the challenges are, you're able to find the solution. So you acquire the skill sets to problem solve. You acquire the powerful mindset to problem solve, right? No problem is unresolvable, right? So again, we see that awareness of self through this practice. So when you meditate, you see that your mind becomes powerful. When the mind becomes powerful, the mind is able to utilize that power to divinize your professional life and professionalize your divine life. But the most important thing is that you see that powerful mindset will help you to get the knowledge, the deep knowledge and the wide knowledge to help you build expertise and take your level of expertise to the next stage of development. Right? So this is what that infinite possibility is. And you see that when you acquire the knowledge, you actually be confident of yourself. You don't feel inferiority or superiority complex. You actually feel self-sustaining, you know, and you are willing to learn from everyone. You don't have an ego problem. You say, yes, I know this much, but also by knowing more, you realize the more you don't know that you need to learn. That is what research is. When you start searching, you realize that there are more questions that will emerge that you have to research it again. And that's why I love it, because I'm in the profession of research. That when you discover something, you realize that in that discovery, you are able to then solve particular problems, but you're also starting to have a lot more questions and other things that you're able to, then more questions come, that the more you learn, the more you discover. So I always say, okay, if you don't know, and there are many things that Guru doesn't know, but I know that if it's really important, then I will have to put the time to discover it. So if you don't know, ask, find, So this is what, that professionalizing and spiritualizing one's life. And you start, the agility of the mind becomes more powerful. You become more resilient. You become more adaptable, right? And you're able to address challenges, no matter what the challenges are. You say, okay, maybe this challenge I can solve quickly. This challenge may require a little bit more time. This challenge, I'll take it in a more longer term, right? And this is so important for professional life, because part of the professional life is actually, uh, it's about problem solving. It's about finding new innovations and discoveries that make the job better for yourself, better for your workers, so that new innovation and discoveries create value for the organization and the people working in the organization, and most importantly, the people that you serve, whether it's products or services, also benefit from that, so that mindset is able to solve problems and find new solutions. And the last one is that part of the professional life is actually, you realize that whatever we do, we ask if it benefits others. So yes, when I go to a job, yes, maybe I get a monthly salary, I get some bonus. Is that it? Do I work for a salary, or is there a greater cause? Right. So this is where we have to think in a much more universal way, work with the soul. So whatever we do, we ask if it benefits others in our organization. Does it benefit the people that I am supervising? Does it benefit my supervisor and my superior? Does it benefit the organization? Does it benefit the country? Does it benefit the humanity and society? What I'm asking here is that the nobility is, what is our ROV? Return on values. Not just return on investment, but return on values. If we are able to create that value proposition, the return on values, you'll see that our investments will go up, our wealth will go up, both our intellectual, spiritual, all the 10 capitals will go up. So this is what this Mahan's teaching shows, that how you can integrate professional and spiritual life as one, so that you are not decoupled from that spiritual life. You are always in that spiritual life, even when you are in a office or whether in your home, or whether you take work back home, you're still in that spiritual realm. So this is what I call a wow mindset. This great Mahan's teaching taught me about the wow mindset. And actually, over the many years of doing research, I came up with this term called wow. You know, how we actually transform ourselves into a world-class mindset. That means space setting. We're leading the way in our thinking. We have leading ideas. That leading ideas gives us competitive advantage because we are able to create value for our organizations, and those are the people that the organizations will promote, give leadership roles, give better salary, give better remuneration, and most importantly that they want to hold on to. This are the world-class people that are able to know the organization. Oh, these are the people that will take my organization to become a global organization. That's the first quality of a wow mindset, a spiritual mindset. The second quality of the spiritual mindset is that the mind is outstanding. Outstanding in the sense it's able to create opportunity for everyone, not just for themselves, for everyone, right? So that spillover impact, their efforts has spillover impact across the organization, creates multiplier effect. So it not only you perform very well, your people that work under you perform really well, your boss performs very well, your department performs very well, your division performs very well, your organization perform very well, because your organization is very competitive. It makes the country competitive, and globally, you're able to create opportunities for the society that depend on your products and services. And the last one is winnable. Winnable means this spiritual mindset in a professional life will be transformational, not only for yourself, but for the people that work with you and for the organization, transformational organization. And it'll initiate impactful change. You would have major transformation in the discovery, in innovation, in competitiveness, that you help everyone in that organization to move up the value chain. Now, if you can do that, you will do really well in whatever you do, whether it's a spiritual organization, a professional organization, or a company, or your family. That wow mindset. So it leads to wow leadership style, and that's how leaders are born. They because of this mindset, they attain that quality of mind. They have the wow strategic planning. Everybody plans, but you now have an amazing plan that will shift the game, a game changer. Whatever projects you take is a wow projects or programs or investments that you make. And the last one is that in any organization, professional, you need partnerships, collaborations, and knowledge networks. Your mind is so strategic that you're able to form partnerships within your organizations, across the organizations. The same thing with strategic collaborations, and build knowledge networks that you contribute to knowledge, but you also learn from these knowledge networks. And you see that this Mahan's meditation method and practice helps you to continuously move up that innovation value chain. You're always evolving, you're always developing, you're always professionalizing, and you're always creating value for yourself. And if you did this, you would continue to build a fantastic career in a profession. And this is what I've been doing over the last many, many years of practicing this Mahan's teachings, and then taking up a job and eventually leading many organizations and firms. It starts off with a simple mindset change that this great master taught of this I got philosophy and the meditational practice that initiates transformation within the mindset to build that wow mindset. So the GP Mahan values, when we professionalize it, it gives us the wow mindset to have impactful contribution in our professional life. right? Sandosha.